Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Feenstra of Iowa, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Chairman Scott, and Ranking Member Thompson. Mr. Chairman, first, I ask to submit for the record a letter from NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, which discusses some considerations the Federal Communications Commission should take in considering for its review a long-form application for the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. Could I submit this for the record?
So ordered, Mr. Feenstra. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank each of our witnesses for their testimony today. We all know that in today's world, access is key to reliability, affordability, and high-speed internet is critical to daily life and necessary for rural Americans to not fall behind. Whether it be telehealth, running a small business, education, precision agriculture, all require connectivity. In rural Iowa, I constantly hear about the need for better connectivity in many areas. However, we also have a good story to tell in other parts of rural Iowa, where carriers have been able to deploy future-proof networks that have closed the digital divide for the communications that serve, like the one being completed by Premier Communications throughout Northwest Iowa. I am glad that we are taking the time today to examine what has worked successfully in deploying rural broadband and where there are opportunities to make improvements. Ms. Prather, as I stated, I believe it's imperative that rural Iowans have the same quality of internet service as people that live in cities. Like your company, many carriers in Iowa have been able to deliver this type of service in rural Iowa. You mentioned in your testimony that you use various types of technology to serve your customers, but that you prefer fiber given its reliability to meet customer needs and now and into the future. Some claim that certain technologies can perform at speeds that have not yet been proved, or based on that claim, many folks, including me, worry that not all providers who were awarded funding under the FCC's Rural Digital Opportunity Fund will have the technical, financial, and operational capabilities to deliver the services they have pledged to deliver, regardless of the technology they are using. This is why I joined a letter earlier this year to the FCC to ensure that money from the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund is used wisely and effectively. Ms. Prather, as a provider who utilizes multiple types of technology in your networks, can you talk about the constraints to using other types of technology besides fiber in rural areas and how they might have concerns? Additionally, can you talk about the scalability and future-proof capabilities of fiber networks as demand for faster speeds and more capabilities increase?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Congressman, and thank you for your support regarding that letter and that initiative. I, too, have worries about some of the money that's gone out the door and what's going to be able to be provided. As you said, we utilize multiple technologies. I know what I can get out of those different technologies today. You make a great point about the reason that we like fiber the most is that it can meet those demands. When we were hit with this sudden surge and intense surge in demand due to COVID, our fiber network was ready to handle it. You make a great point about the reliability and scalability. I've already talked today about how weather affects our fixed wireless assets. We don't have that same problem with fiber optics. Another point is that whenever we need to change out and upgrade some of those radios on our fixed wireless towers, we then have to also upgrade every single customer unit. That's a lot of disruption for the customer. It's also a lot of expense that you may not think about when you initially deploy that type of technology, but the ongoing maintenance is much greater in some of those other networks.
Thank you, Ms. Prather. I have one more question for you, Ms. Prather. So when we look at federal dollars that are going to be used for rural broadband, my concern is that we use them in an efficient way, that we can put in the ground or use them one time, that they can serve for the next 20 or 30 years, because I look at it as infrastructure. When we look at speeds, what speeds are critical when you think out 10 or 20 years? I mean, I'm looking at 100 upload and download speeds. What are your thoughts on the speeds? And when we start looking out 10 to 20 years from now, when we're investing all these dollars federally, what do you think is the best speeds for those dollars?
That's a great question. I think we know how to predict this a little bit. Currently, our speed and our capacity doubles with my customers about every 14 to 16 months. So when you look at 10 to 20 years, that creates a great amount.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Brother. I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chair.